All right, so good evening. Welcome back to JPCE Spatial Talk. It's Jared Campbell. So we're going to flip over to War 24/7 News. There's quite a bit of updates to cover. Some of these have been having trouble playing the videos, so hopefully when we get there, we can watch these videos with no trouble. Without further ado, thank you all for coming back. This is our news segment. We'll call this Around the World with JPCE Spatial Talk. I like that. I like to be creative. So let's go ahead and get to War 24/7 News. Thank you all again for following. The true definition of minister is to serve someone else's will. So hopefully we get these videos to play. We can get into this. Thank you all so much for coming back. All right, so first one is definitely not this one. It is this one. So it's over. So mass US and UK hammering against Zelensky. Blame game begins for the defeat, responsibilities, territorial concessions on the carpet. All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to read some few of these highlights. We're going to watch a video that's 3 minutes long, if it'll play. Okay. So let's look at a few of these highlights. So it says a tsunami of discontent expressed by the systematic Western media. Britain, the US now takes on the character of mass pounding against Ukrainian military and political leadership, right? It's now clear they're preparing the ground for abandonment of Ukraine as we approach US elections. Well, of course, they're going to throw them under the bus, aren't they? So New York Times, there's a discontent. Zelensky received bad news from the front. There's a discontent in the ranks of Ukrainian armed forces due to the incompetence of their commanders. Inadequate training in NATO countries, inadequate Western armored vehicles. New York Times reports. How is that Ukraine's fault, right? Why not just made them part of NATO in the first place? So according to Oskander, said that he had often fought with his trainers in the United States. They fought in Afghanistan and Iraq. The enemy there was nothing like the Russians, he said. Interesting. The commanders of armed forces of Ukraine are throwing new recruits into a fray. They're using untested tactics during the counterattack. Why would you do that? The soldiers themselves complained that their training in NATO countries was too short. Some of the armored vehicles could not withstand the power of the Russian army. As they were designed to suppress insurgency, special mention was made of the American armored Max Pro. Then why not you guys fight like insurgents then, Ukraine? Why do you need all this Western backing then? You weren't part of NATO in the first place. So everybody's going to throw everybody under the bus. Everybody's going to start complaining. Everybody's going to start pointing fingers. Why not become insurgents, right? Every big military has an issue fighting insurgents. So why not take the gloves off, right? That's my thoughts. Many people, right, thought it would be very fast and the fall would be in Crimea, said Oskander, the battalion commander. But every meter of the line is very difficult. Well, it's hard to fight the Russians when you have no good artillery support, no good air support. So how are you going to fight the Russians? It's like you were set up to lose. Got used by NATO. CNN, increasing alarming news reaching the West, Ukraine's progress. Incredible. Surprising losses. Russian defense is not broken. The Russians have a series of defense lines, and Ukrainian forces haven't really got past the front line either. A senior Western diplomat stressed. Even if they kept fighting for several weeks, they haven't been able to score victories in the last 7-8 weeks. What is a chance that suddenly, with more depleted forces, they will? The conditions are very difficult, he added. The lack of progress on the ground is one reason that Ukrainian forces are striking more often inside Russian territory, an effort to show that the Russians remain vulnerable, said a senior U.S. military official, because they're desperate. Territorial, concessions, and blame game. So here's a tweet from the Kyiv Independent. The Western leadership receives increasingly sobering assessments on Ukraine's capacity for a breakthrough that would change the balance of the conflict, recognizing the challenges that Ukrainian troops face, officials told CNN. All right, so here's a video. Hopefully I can get this to play.
Ukrainian officials say heavy Russian defenses have slowed their month-long counteroffensive to a crawl and are now urging patience from Western allies. A senior Ukrainian official says an insane number of Russian landmines, up to 5 per square kilometre in some parts, is one reason for the slow going. Clearing those minefields is slow and deadly and dangerous work, and it's being done now by foot. That same official notes there's no deadlines to break through those fortified defensive lines. Meantime, Kyiv says Russia is bringing more battle-ready forces to the city of Bakhmut to try and prevent further Ukrainian gains. Also, the Russians are trying to push back on the front lines as well, but the Ukrainian president says they will not get anywhere.
Frontline. The battles are tough. The occupiers are trying with all their might to stop our guys. The assaults are very fierce. But no matter what the enemy does, it is the Ukrainian forces that dominate.
And joining us now is CNN military analyst Lieutenant General Mark Hertling, former Commanding General, US Army Europe and 7th Army. And it's good to see you.
Good to be with you as always, John.
Okay, so right now it seems the Ukrainian counteroffensive, it's making progress, but it's much slower than expected. And an op-ed from the people at the Institute for the Study of War and the American Enterprise Institute goes into a lot of detail explaining how the Ukrainians can actually still win this, but it will take a long time. It could take months or longer. Here's part of what they wrote. The Ukrainians only have to win and hold in one sector to render virtually all the Russian-held territory west of their advance untenable. The Russians have to win every time, all the time. The Ukrainians don't even have to make it all the way to the water. Just explain what that means and what that actually looks like on the battlefield here.
Well, I don't quite agree with that, John. And what I'd say is what they're talking about is cutting Russian supply lines, which would put a stranglehold on the Russians that are anywhere west of where they slice the M14 highway, which runs south along the Azov and Black Sea coast. What they're talking about is not only cutting that logistics capability for the Russians, but there's also a requirement to secure the area. In other words, get the Russian troops out of there, because as long as there are Russian forces inside those two oblasts, Zaporizhia and Kherson Oblast in the south, it will cause problems. It will take a long time. Many of us who understand the complexities of combined arms warfare have said for a very long time that it will take much longer than anticipated. The Ukrainians went into this, a lot of people thought they were 10 feet tall, much like we thought Russians were at the beginning of the conflict. But when you're on the offensive over a long stretch of front lines with a lot of territory to recover, using new equipment, doing something that you've never done before, against an enemy that's dug in with mines and wire and trenches, it's extremely difficult, and it just takes a long time. That's the fact of the matter.
All right, so I apologize. I was holding in some vomit. All right, I find our mainstream media to be completely dishonest, full of propaganda. I find it quite disgusting why they cannot tell the American people the truth, how the US, along with NATO, used Ukraine. They used them, they abused them, lack of training on equipment and so forth, right? They used them. They weren't even part of NATO and used them. And now they're blaming him, right? Sorry, I just trying to hold it in. All right, next one. Serious incident in Niger. Green light for invasion of 25,000 soldiers. French and US special forces will occupy the airport in Niamey. Man, here we go. More US soldiers dying on more foreign lands, right? Once again, NATO, US, they mess up, right? You know, our soldiers always dying on foreign lands, right? Fighting for others. Right? I just don't understand sometimes. So 25,000 ECOWAS army is gathering for an invasion of Niger. French sources say the green light was reportedly given after Victoria Nuland was expelled from Niger along with a delegation of ECOWAS, the United Nations and African Union. Victoria Nuland thought that with Niger, you could do the same thing as Ukraine, put some bread rolls in a plastic bag and fool them. Such banana regimes as in Kiev no longer exist. Wow. Niger authorities are reporting deploying troops around the presidential palace while special forces are moving towards Niamey airport. Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali in a joint statement emphasized that in the event of any external military intervention, they will fight together in their countries. There is a relevant military mobilization. So breaking, Niger's coup leaders rejected a delegation of ECOWAS, African Union, and UN meditators on security grounds. They said public anger and revolt after ECOWAS sanctions prevented the required serenity and security. A letter obtained by CNN says.
ECOWAS wrote to Niger's coup leaders asking them to allow a joint delegation from ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, the African Union, and the UN. They were expected in Niamey today. Now, we just obtained this letter from the Niger coup leaders' foreign ministry back to ECOWAS, rejecting that request for security grounds. I want to read a part of that letter from the foreign ministry in Niger to ECOWAS. It says, the current context of anger and revolt of the populations following the sanctions imposed by ECOWAS does not allow to welcome the state delegation in the required serenity and security. The postponement of the mission to Niamey is necessary, as is the revision of certain aspects of the program, including meetings with certain personalities which cannot take place for obvious security reasons in this atmosphere of threatened aggression against Niger. So, translation, these Niger coup leaders are saying that we will not meet with ECOWAS delegations or mediators until you would remove the sanctions that you've placed against us, and they're blaming it on the anti-ECOWAS sentiment that exists in the country, which is interesting because General Abdurrahman Tiani, who's declared himself president of the country, did meet with a delegation from Burkina Faso and Mali. They have banded up together, and the spokesperson for Mali had very strong words for the international community.
I would like to remind you that Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have been dealing with for over 10 years with the negative social, economic, security, political, and humanitarian consequences of NATO's hazardous adventure in Libya. Of course, we ask ourselves, if it took us 10 years, how many years would it take us to get over another adventure of the same nature in Niger?
If you're keeping track, this alliance of coup leaders now involves Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Guinea, who are all controlled by military juntas. So General Abdurrahman Tiani did not meet with Victoria Nuland, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State from the US. She was not allowed to meet with the detained President Mohamed Bazoum either. But now you see what the priorities are. They're telling ECOWAS, no, this mediation will not work unless you relax the sanctions, then we can talk.
Yeah, well, we will wait to see what and how ECOWAS respond to that. Larry Madoa there reporting live for us. Thanks so much, Larry.
25,000 ECOWAS troops ready to invade Niger. Earlier, French radio station RFI reported that African countries plan to send an invasion force of 25,000 troops to Niger. According to the radio station, 50% of the 25,000 troops will come from Nigeria, and the rest from Senegal, Benin, and Ivory Coast. According to the latest figures, the French American intelligence services have become more active in African countries neighboring Niger, many in Nigeria and Libya. At the same time, an operation is underway to coordinate the actions of several African armies and non-state armed groups to invade Niger and capture its capital, Niamey. French intelligence services are trying to coordinate actions to block Niger's borders. With a high probability, we can say that the operation, if it starts, will involve French and American special forces. This first objective will be to capture the capital's airport. Interesting. So here we see Niger citizens yell goodbye to France, to the French suckers, right? And we've seen this one, may have. Let's take a look. Au revoir. Au revoir. Au revoir. Au revoir la France. The world is destabilizing because of the double standards on all sides, right? That's why the world's destabilizing. Burkina Faso mobilizes for Niger to prevent incoming democracy. Wasn't this one of the leaders? Oh, pause this real quick. I think it's one of the leaders we listened to. I said, look into these guys' eyes. I said that they were hungry, right? There's a fight that's coming. Door to Victoria, Nuland, threats. Students in Niger are ready to defend their country from foreign intervention. Soldiers remain loyal and faithful to the mission. We will support them to the end of it.
Si, comment s'appelle, la CEDEAO décide surtout d'envoyer l'intervention militaire, nous allons prendre surtout notre courage à même pour défendre aussi notre pays. Nous allons monter sur le terrain de combat si ça nécessite, parce que c'était notre décision en tant qu'Étudiants.
Oui, parlant de la patrie, donc aucun sacrifice n'est de trop. En tout cas, pour notre patrie, on est prêt quand même à donner notre vie. Au prix de notre sang, nous sommes appelés donc à rétablir l'ordre patriotique et nationaliste de notre pays. Nous sommes prêts pour le pays et pour la patrie. Nous sommes prêts en tout cas pour l'avenir de notre nation. Ça, nous sommes engagés, Inch'Allah, avec l'État. Si les militaires restent loyaux et fidèles à leur mission, on va les soutenir jusqu'au bout de leur mission.
You know, I talked to somebody who's in Ukraine, and they tell me how a lot of media sources get things mixed up. And I can also see that for Africa too. I'll explain more as we go through. So Russian media, France will have a big problem accounting for business support. So here we go. Nigerian army, troops ready.
Barka ya ne kai da dama ya harkoki ya gari ya tsarin sai bon to ya kyau kace zaka mai da Niger kin tamu terrain mu wallahi muna nan ma a frontier Niger Nigeria muna nan a frontier mun baka muna shirin ku kawai ne mu ma ba ku iso mu za mu je wajen ku insha Allah wai zaka ce zaka mai da Niger za mu zo mu kashe ku wallahi tsinta fara za mu muku za mu halaka ku kawai zo mu kashe kayan banza ba ka tala da di ko Najeriya mu bata baye mu shiga ba kaji dan uwa ka bi a hankali. Zo mu kashe kayan banza. Sojojin na ko Najeriya mu bata baye mu.
We go back to the last video. Remember, we're saying how they would defend their homeland, right? Being patriotic. You know, patriotism is different, right? For everybody. Everybody has a different view of patriotism, right? So that's the thing, that they're willing to fight for something. Right? I mean, it's getting back, right? So Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso joint statement confirm participation in the legitimate defense of Niger amid a military intervention. We suffer from NATO war against Libya for 10 years. We will not allow the same.
L'ensemble du peuple frère du Niger, que nous remercions tous pour cet accueil très chaleureux et très convivial. Pour la deuxième question, globalement, l'audience qui nous a été accordée par le président du Conseil national pour la sauvegarde de la patrie a porté globalement sur les principales décisions qui ont été prises par leurs excellences le colonel Assimi Goïta et son homologue du Burkina Faso, le capitaine Ibrahim Traoré, après les sanctions de la CEDEAO. Décision mentionnée dans le communiqué conjoint du 31 juillet 2023. Notamment la solidarité très forte à l'endroit du peuple nigérien, avec lequel nous partageons à la fois l'histoire et la géographie. Également le refus catégorique pour le Mali ainsi que le Burkina Faso d'exécuter ces sanctions illégales, illégitimes et inhumaines prises contre le peuple nigérien. Et enfin, le plus important, c'est réitérer la participation active, effective et pleine du Mali et du Burkina Faso aux opérations de légitime défense en cas d'agression de la CEDEAO contre le Niger. Je tiens ici à le préciser que toute intervention militaire contre la souveraineté d'un pays, sans le consentement de ses autorités, ne représente autre chose qu'une agression. Bien entendu, l'agression que le Burkina Faso et le Mali rejettent catégoriquement. Nous avons réitéré, bien entendu, la décision le président Ouïta, du président Traoré, de participer pleinement aux opérations de légitime défense aux côtés des forces de défense et de sécurité du Niger. Ce sont des décisions mûrement réfléchies. Je tiens ici à rappeler que ça fait plus de 10 ans que le Burkina Faso, le Mali et le
New military leaders in Niger have revealed that the ECOWAS is utilizing two Central African nations to ready an invasion of the Saline state.
Communiqué numéro 22. Malgré la désapprobation des populations nigériennes et celle de la CEDEAO d'une quelconque intervention militaire au Niger, la planification de cette guerre a été effectuée. Un prédéploiement des forces devant participer à cette guerre est entamé dans 2 pays de l'Afrique centrale. Le CNSP suit avec attention les préparatifs de cette guerre par procuration, pour laquelle le mandat de la CEDEAO était juste un quitus nécessaire. Le CNSP prend à témoin l'opinion nationale et internationale et affirme que tout État à partir duquel une action militaire est dirigée contre le Niger sera considéré comme co-belligérant. Fait à Niamey le 6 août 2023.
All right, so got the updates there. Let's keep going down the line here. Next one, deadly journey. Successive Ukrainian offensive on the Dnieper ended in a massacre. Polish-Georgians captured and dead. So successive Ukrainian amphibious assaults have resulted in carnage in the Dnieper, with Russian military sources speaking of a new meat machine in this theater of operations. The Ukrainians tried to cross the Dnieper at night to a village across that camps, with result that most of the speedboats were sunk along with stormtroopers, according to the Russians. The Ukrainians crossed their water barrier in seaboats and then tried to disembark in the Kherson region. On the left bank of the Dnieper near the village of Cossack camps. Up to 7 Ukrainian army vessels were destroyed on the way to the left bank of the Kherson region. It is also reported that in the radio intercepts of the conversation of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, speech in Polish and Georgian was heard. The Ukrainian army also supported its landing force with artillery fire from the coast controlled by the Armed Forces of Ukraine. See what happened in the video. Ukrainian forces withdrew after a failed attack.
Давай! Пацаны все! Право контроля, накрываем!
They're literally hitting the water. Look at the rounds hit the water. They're not even aiming properly. Okay. Oh man.
Давай, давай, давай! Газу!
So that was an assault. Drone of a Ukrainian Mi-24 on the right bank of the Dnieper in Kherson. Two Ukrainian attempts to land on the islands in the Dnieper. Ukrainian forces attempt to carry out amphibious actions. It's located in the mouth of the river. Video: Su-34 raid against Ukrainian positions on the Concessions bridge.
Под надзором век коротать, наше дело путать следы. Ветром в чистом поле петь да гулять, да звенеть лучами звезды. Лед да туман, вьюга, метель да снег. По городам ветер ушел в побег.
Bombing Ukrainian targets in Kherson.
Здесь меня никто не слышит. Деньги, кровь, гордыня и спесь. И стремление вверх во имя перемен.
Russian artillery destroyed Ukrainian sabotage and reconnaissance teams in the village at Savadovi. Video: a group of 10 Ukrainian soldiers across the Dnieper River at night and hid in a house. Video: Russians level house Ukrainian soldiers. Ukrainian soldiers surrendered. Videos with subtitles. Russian commander shows the Ukrainian prisoners.
Так. Я командир батальона 1822, майор Томов. Сегодня мы взяли в плен хохлов. Они утверждают, что взяли какой-то плацдарм под Новой Каховкой. Так вот, это пиздеж. Вот они все здесь. Ты кто?
Старший солдат Бойчук Сергей.
А ты кто?
Ерволенко. Солдат Ерволенко Андрей Викторович.
Андрюха, значит. А ты кто?
Капитан Буданченко Руслан Владимирович.
Ебать. Нихуя себе, блядь. А должность какая? Погромче.
Командир разведывательной группы специального назначения.
А подразделение?
Батальон специального назначения.
А задача какая была?
Взять перший плацдарм.
Да ну нахуй, втроем что ли? А остальные где?
У нас было 18 человек в складе группы.
И что с ними стало?
Не могу знать.
Да ладно, пиздишь, ебка. Пиздишь же.
Не могу знать.
Ну как ты не можешь знать?
Склад группы 18 человек.
18 человек?
Да.
Так, а здесь что у нас? Ага. Так, оружие. Охуеть, блядь. Какая прелесть, блядь. Приятность неожиданная. Только эту задачу имели? Кто командир?
Я.
Командир кто у тебя?
Я командир.
Ну ты что, самый главный, что ли?
Не.
В вооруженных силах же Украины, наверное, кто-то постарше есть. Позывной как твой? Вот он, этот плацдарм. На лужайке.
Man, can you guys imagine somebody putting their foot on you like that when you're Garrett? Hold on, what was this video?
О, откуда
More
такие?
prisoners.
Его с острова привезли. Пока 7.
Вот они наши. Ну-ка, поросятки. Ты откуда?
Николай.
А ты?
Николай.
Вот.
So maps with landing attempts of Ukrainian forces. So here's some maps. All right, so that's where that one ends. So let's move on. We're almost done. All right, so last article. Crash and collapse. Ukrainian army evacuates northeast Kharkiv. Russian 6th Army advanced 11 kilometers, breaks Ukrainian defense lines. All right, so crash and collapse. Ukrainian army evacuates northeast Kharkiv. Russian 6th Army advanced 11 kilometers, breaks Ukrainian defense. Ukrainians are trapped in the southwest. Russians capture 5 settlements, 7 forts, and 9 observation posts. All right, so let's look at some of these videos. Ukrainians surrender en masse with a white flag.
Пойдем в шеренгу нахуй! Все в эту яму, быстро, блядь! В эту залазь! Вылазь, вон еще одна.
Russian army advanced 11 kilometers in the direction of Kupiansk. Video, Ukrainians retreat from their positions after attack by Russian forces. UAV records their movements and corrects their fire. Destruction of Ukrainian artillery systems in Kupiansk. Russian army took control of 5 settlements in the Kharkiv region. All right, so rain of fire from MLRS Grant in Crimea, Limia Savatoa area. We've seen that video from Amir. All right, so what's the next one here? Yeah, I think we've seen this one too.
Весь день дежурим и по готовности, всегда в готовности, выезжаем только вот по команде, выехали, отработали, вернулись обратно, сразу дозарядились и ждем. Несколько машин дежурит, то есть не будет такого, что вызвали на позицию, а машину на заряжание, то есть одна заряжается, другая стреляет.
All right, so here's the map. See the maps with the Russian advance? There we go. So here's their advance. All right. There we go. All right, so that's where we're going to end tonight, guys. Thank you all so much. All right. All right, so this is JPC Spiritual Talk, Chair Campbell. All right, guys, so as you can tell, probably a little odd one this evening. I'm a little upset, right? I'm upset with my government. I'm upset with NATO. I feel bad for the Ukrainians right now because they're used, okay? And now they're pointing the finger and blaming them, right? But I'm going to go say this, and this is what I think, right? This is simply what I think. NATO failed Ukraine. Simple. That's what I think. They failed them, okay? Set them up for failure, and now they're blaming them, pointing the finger at them, right? So much money was wasted, equipment, even billions. It's disgusting in my mind what was wasted. Lack of training, everything. And that's why I'm upset. But we're going to close out. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Lord, make his face shine upon you and be merciful to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, now and forever. The sages. Amen. Chair Wesley Campbell, as I'm out. JPC Spiritual Talk. Never hold back. Seek truth. I love y'all.